On to today's topic, E. So what makes a sports video feel premium? So I don't know. What do you like premium for? I don't know what makes a video premium. I never made a premium video. All right, welcome to the latest episode of Game Day Glare. I'm Lance. I'm with E. This is the podcast for sports videographers. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great. You know, we're vacations are coming soon, I think, so I'm excited about that. Even though I'll be missing you while we're on the break, but other than that, yeah. What about you?
Yes, it's true. It's coming up fast. So we got this episode and one more episode after, and then we're going to be taking a break for 6 to 8 weeks, depending on how much vacation E needs. But no, things have been pretty good. World of sports now. It's kind of always a strange transition, right? September, October, you have that mecca where all the four major sports are playing at the same time. And now we're in the season where, you know, the NBA Finals is over, the NHL, the Stanley Cup is over. Football is slowly starting to work in mini camps and stuff. That Canadian football started. So we got that summer transition. So what are your plans for the summer, sports wise? You got anything? I know you sometimes you'll do some freelance for the Alouettes and stuff like that. But soccer too. Now there's, you know, we got 3 professional soccer teams in Montreal. You got anything planned on that horizon?
Absolutely nothing.
No, not yet. You're not there yet.
Well, first of all, I rarely plan that early, that much in advance. But no, I usually more like schedule my. Well, if we're talking about my YouTube channel, like it's usually a few days before that I'll email them and say, "Can I come to the game this Friday?" And then, you know, it's because I decided on the spot that I've got a video to do this week and all that sort of stuff. I don't really schedule months in advance or even weeks. And for work, like freelance stuff, people call me when they're in trouble. Like they call me at the last minute because someone didn't show up or because they've got this big event and now realize they want more cameras. So yeah, my schedule is never really built early, unfortunately.
Okay.
What
So
about you?
Are
you working at football or things like that?
Sports wise, I only have a couple like training videos and on ice kind of like training stuff for summer. But I got like quite a bit of corporate stuff booked, so that's always takes up quite a bit of time. But like you, you know, the way that some of these pro sports teams go is they kind of book a little last minute. They have like their regular crew and then I'll fill in so I could do some replacement in that. But sports wise, it's a little quiet, but I will be trying some new stuff because my son has been pushing me to play a new sport. And I told him, let's try and do a video with it. And it's pickleball. We've been playing pickleball. And I realized like it's actually fun, but I don't know, maybe just because I'm getting older, but I have to think about like reacting and moving and running now, where before it used to just come naturally, and now I'm like, oh yeah, I got to run over there, oh I got to put some more effort. So it's a little different. But anyway, we talked about maybe making like a little fun video just for it, and I'll try it. I have filmed pickleball once before at a corporate event. So you know, you film it just kind of like tennis, except you don't play it like tennis. But that's just a little side project, and I have all these little side projects that I have to put together from my travel dates that I have not done yet. So like I went to Santa Cruz, and I'm a big, I'll give you a little personal story. I like the movie The Lost Boys in Santa Cruz. That's where it took place. So I took like a couple of the same shots that they have in the movie. So I want to do a couple little reels with like, you know, the music from the movie. Exactly. The music from the movie, Santa Cruz, you know, the Lost Boys stuff. Anyway, so these are some little reels that I have to do. And then I went to like Mavericks and I brought my Ulanzi tripod. So I have to do a video on that also, but I just haven't had time to do it. So this break will give me a time to kind of catch up on my stuff. But listen, today we're going to talk about what makes a sports video feel premium. And by that is like, you know, what are we putting in our videos that clients, it shows the clients the value of our work and the value to maybe pay you those higher contracts and that. But before we get into that, we want to go into our usual segment, the scouting report. This is where we talk about new gear, new things we've seen online, things that caught our eye, stuff like that. Not that we're experts on everything that we see new in that, because we haven't always had the chance to get our hands on them, but we thought we'd talk about something today. So E, you want to take us off in this topic?
Yeah, well, I saw that the what's it called, the DJI Pocket 4 was launched not too long ago, and it's interesting. Like you're obviously the not only the DJI guy, but you're also the action camera guy. So I thought about you when I saw this, but it looks kind of cool in the sense that there's a big ish sensor, like it's a 1-inch sensor, and on the Pro version there's like these two lenses that I'm a bit confused what the second lens does, but it also comes like the big thing. Well, it shoots in 10-bit as well, but the big thing is that it has like 17 stops of dynamic range, where on usual, like I think like my FX3 has maybe 13 or 15 stops, something like that.
I think 15, yeah.
15, eh? So yeah, 17 is a big number, especially for a small action cam. So it'll be very interesting, because for people who don't really know what dynamic range is, like it's basically the range of how it can handle like the bright like whites and the dark blacks in the same image. Like usually on a budget camera, that's the main thing that you struggle with. Where if you're filming if you're filming outdoors, like something in the shade will look completely black, or if it looks good, that means whatever's in the sun or the sky is gonna look like completely washed out, overexposed. It's hard to get both in the same image. So with good dynamic range, you can manage that. So that's something that like action cam are notoriously bad at. So if this one is actually great, potentially better than the mirrorless camera, it's going to be interesting to see, what comes out of it and how it can be used for outdoor sports. So, I'm definitely curious to see what it looks like. I'll definitely look at what's going on before, what other people do with it before thinking about buying one. But yeah, it's a lot of questions and a lot of interest.
Well, I think it's great for gimbal shots, right? For sports venues. Like I use my Pocket 3 all the time for gimbal shots. But also on that is the active tracking. Supposedly they updated that. So you know what? Maybe it could be. Because in the past on my model, it was the same thing as all active tracking. As soon as you have someone else cross, it kind of always gets confused on who it was tracking in the first place. So I don't know if they put any AI into it or anything like that. Because it's still, it's pretty new. I saw like a couple of videos on it too. But thanks for looking at the DJI products. See, I appreciate it. I'm always keeping an eye on them.
Mixing it up. Trying to steal your thunder.
No. I got
Were
something
you going to talk about it?
That's it. I was going to talk about it. You took it from me. Now I got nothing to talk about.
Exactly.
No, so I want to talk about a program that I've been using. It's called Higgsfield.ai, and it's like the one-stop shop for AI footage, images, and stuff like that. And the way it works is you can subscribe to it, and you get so many credits per month to do stuff. So this could be good for sports videography, but I would use it as more of like a transition or an effects package kind of thing. It says you can make your own videos and that, but in sports, for me, the authenticity of being at a live event and capturing that event is what you really, really want to see. But you could take like a nice drone shot and then cut on the last frame and then have your next shot cut on the last frame, and you can make Higgsfield AI make the transition in between the two shots.
Yeah.
That's where I would use it. But like it has everything built in. Like if you just go on the main page, there's Nano Banana Pro, Speed Dance 2.0 for video. There's a marketing studio, so you can like kind of show products and it'll make you an avatar. It works okay. I messed around with it. It's okay. You can put your own voice in. But I'm a hard critic on myself, so I know it's not me. It doesn't look like, I feel like there's a couple things that I noticed that don't look like me, But I think it's really, really cool, and there's a lot of tools. So for anybody who is starting to dabble in AI and want to explore that, I think Higgsfield.ai is pretty good because everything is in one thing. Now, there is one concern I will say, and that is, so since it's a credit system and you're giving it prompts, okay? So I had one where I was flying the drone at the Bell Center, and my idea was I had my shot come up, and then I want to blow through the roof and go into the skyline of Montreal. It took me about 7 prompts to do it because it was throwing me through the ceiling. It was like adding stuff, and I gave some pretty specific prompts, and it kind of messed it up a little bit. But I don't care about the messing it up and trying new stuff. The issue is it's using your credits as it's doing it. So all of a sudden, like I had a month full of credit and all of a sudden, boom, I had hardly any left because it took me 7-8 times to try this. And then the credits also go with the length of the video. So if you have a 7-second video, it's so many credits. You have a 10-second video, it's so many credits. 15 seconds is usually the max. And then you can put audio, it'll put B-roll, sound effects. It will do all that for you. But your prompt has to be very, very good. And I feel like it's a lot easier working off a still image to create your next image than just creating one from scratch. It has a hard time, but it is something definitely cool, and it is definitely what the future's going to. So it's going to be like, you know, you're not going to get replaced by AI. You're going to get replaced by somebody who uses AI. So anyway, Higgsfield.ai, check it out, guys. It's definitely a cool tool. I don't think solves all our problems, makes all your videos amazing, but I think it can definitely expand your visual effects and give you some cool effects for your sports videos. All right. Now, on to today's topic, E. So what makes a sports video feel premium? So, I don't know. What do you like premium for? I don't know what makes a video premium. I never made a premium video. No. But what I say is premium is not just like color grade and transitions. You know, you want that crisp, clean image. You want sound effects. You want to feel like you're there, but you want to feel like this is a big production piece, and it has a lot of value. And I think, you know, we're so used to seeing things on our phones and stuff like that, where you have both. You have some teams that will post their opening clips and opening videos, and they put all this work in time. Like we work there, you're talking about 2, 3, 4 week project to finally complete. Then you have other guys who are just filming with their phones and, hey, I'm at the game. Oh, check this out. And they get more views. So I think a premium video isn't really measured on views. I think it's measured on composition, on cinematic images, on storytelling, and that's kind of why I want to bring it up, is like how do you kind of get out of that social media just quick hype reels and give like a full out premium kind of like opening video? What are the ins, the outs, the tools and all that? And for me, honestly, one of the things that I think about too is confidence in your editing, confidence in your decision making, confidence in trying to push that envelope. So I'll let you take a bit at it. But for you, what does that like a premium video have or involve for you?
Yeah, well, like you said, I don't think views have anything to do with it because first of all, like a premium video doesn't necessarily have to be on Instagram. It can just be on the screen at the sporting event, things like that. So it's not about views; it's about like the finished product, and then that's to look like. Well, my sort of perspective on it is that like it's just. How polished does it look? Like, does it look like when I look at it, do I automatically assume that it's produced by like a professional, person that was paid to produce a video? Or do I think that any 15-year-old with skills and like could have done that? Like, so if it looks like it's been produced, it's been, heavily produced, then to me that means polished. Doesn't mean that that's actually what happened, not necessarily, but that's that's where my mind goes. And in terms of you can do it with anything and you can do it in many ways, but the result is speaks for itself basically.
So I wrote a couple of questions to kind of clarify what premium is. So how do I put? Okay, so when does footage start to feel premium to you? Like, is it you're setting up a shot to capture a certain shot? Like, so we're talking like, I'm talking a pro sports team who has a full season and they know their team's going to make the playoffs. Say they're a decent team. So they know come the playoffs, they have to make an epic video to kind of hype the crowd in that. So you got to start planning shots and start capturing shots. And I think that's the difference between premium videos and just social videos is like, we go to events sometimes and we're mandated to get some clips and they're going to use it later for socials. But when you actually have a plan in mind and you're establishing shots, for me, that's when it starts to become like, okay, this is going to be a good piece. I'm going to make it cinematic. For you, when does that go? Is it more of a in-cam aspect, or is it more of a post-production aspect? Like, what are you trying to capture? If you're the mandate is this: you're with a team, you come in halfway through the season and you're getting ready for that playoff push, and you got to produce a premium video for the end of the season?
Well, I think they both the camera and the edit are part of it. But if you look specifically at the camera part, I think for me it's like you basically want to look completely different from what we usually see from like phone footage. So like, or just amateur footage in general. So you don't want like the typical shot of someone who doesn't really film for a living, who's just filming their kids or whatever, is a very wide shot because either they're using their phone or they're using a budget camera with a kit lens and they can't really zoom that much. So it's a very wide shot, a very flat shot, not that much, depth of field and things like that. So automatically, if you have like close-up shots, and also that if they'll, it's not just that when I say flat, it's not just like depth of field. It's also, can you position yourself in a way that like, especially outdoors, like if the sun is behind you, it's gonna hit them like your subjects a bit better, and that way like it's gonna like the contrast and then the shadows will be like where it needs to be and all these different things. So if you can make the light work in your favor, if the composition is made on purpose, you're actually actively trying to create like nice composition, filming from a low angle and filming with a lens that allows you to have like enough depth and field when you can. Things of that nature will just make the look of your footage more cinematic and therefore more polished, and then you can go into LUTs and all that sort of stuff. But it's just these. Well, first of all, nailing exposure is probably the first step. But yeah, if your exposure is right, if you're playing with the sun or the light and making it work for you, the composition, all these things, that's usually what makes it happen while you're filming.
Well, that's it. It's choosing stronger shots instead of just shooting anything, like shooting with a purpose. And also, I have written down here, I have a question for you. So what's the first thing that separates average footage from stronger footage for you? Because you were just talking about exposure and composition, but is there something that stands out when you can see that someone put more effort into it instead of just, what's your quote, spray and pray thing?
Well, I think it's, what I just said basically is just making sure that, because I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy a better camera and it's going to produce better footage. And obviously it can, but you still have, like, for the footage to be good in the first place, whether it's sort of a budget camera or a high-end one, you have to be able to be on top of things like exposure, white balance, and composition. So these three things are not like, I'm holding four fingers. These three things you have to master no matter what camera you're using. So if you're using a budget camera, you don't really know what exposure means. You're not doing all these things properly. You're mostly on auto and you don't like the results, and you're like, oh, well, let me buy an FX3 and all of a sudden everything is going to look better. Like, not really, because if you're not exposing properly, if your white balance all over the place, if your composition's pretty boring, you're filming with an FX3, it might be a little bit sharper, but it's not going to look the way you expect it to look. So you have to master these three things, and then you can start, putting money into like making your videos sharper and more cinematic and all that sort of stuff, and then filming in 4K 120 so that you can speed ramp and all that sort of thing. But yeah, for me, that's the main thing, is like mastering these 1, 2, 3 things.
Okay. Also, too, is for me, I like it in these opening videos, and that is a nice tight, like close-up shots that you probably wouldn't take during just regular film game action. You know what I mean? Like when you take the time to let the shot breathe, when you take the time to set up that close-up that you really, really want, and planning goes a long way. And in sports, it's hard to plan because most guys are so focused on the action all the time. And that's where it is to get those shots that are less crowded, less busy, that can maybe slow down the video, or, you know, maybe an intense moment where, you know, a player on the bench is always happy for his teammates and reaction. Well, you set up and you have a camera locked in on that guy and you wait for his reaction. So that way you have that shot and you kind of build towards all those great shots, because a premium video isn't just like shot in one night. It's filmed throughout multiple games, and you kind of go with a game plan each game. And I think a lot of amateurs have a hard time with, they shoot too much because you're just shooting. But if you have thousands and thousands of clips to go through at the end, and they kind of are all very similar every game, well, you're going to get a very basic video, because your shot selection is only going to be so wide. Where if you really, you know, going with a plan, and you're like, I want this shot tonight, I need that shot next game, I'm going to wait for this guy, I'm going to wait for this shot, it's really going to add to your video. So next up I have movement and pacing. So I think the first one I'll talk about is camera movement. You know, camera movement goes a long way. And I am a big believer that you can get a lot of nice shots, stable shots on a tripod, and you can kind of move after and post in that. But when you add in proper camera movement, whether it's handheld or on a tripod or a dolly or whatever, a slider, whatever you want, it makes it feel like real. Like if you watch any movie you watch, every shot has camera movement in it, or almost every shot has camera movement in it. So have that conscious too, you know, master that camera movement, because it will enhance your video, and it will, you know, tell the story a little bit better than just a stable shot. Stable shots could do work. And if you, you know, if you're stuck in a tight place, or, you know, a certain angle, then don't worry about it. But if you have the opportunity to put a nice little camera movement in, like a slow push in, or even just a pan or a tilt or something, it will make your footage feel more, I guess, more premium. I mean, I keep saying the word premium, but it will
is
make
in the title.
It is in the title, but it will make it feel like a little bit more luxurious. There, I changed it up. I put luxurious. And you want to avoid like that shaky footage, and you want to be stable. But sometimes if you do have a shake in that, go with it. You know, you can add a shake transition to the next one, or work on that movement, and cutting on movement too helps with your pacing. So that's what comes to my mind when I see like movement and pacing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I often in my videos cut. I try to cut from one clip to the next in a bit of a movement, and sometimes the movement is not necessarily like a camera whip or a pan like we used to see on YouTube. You know, 5-10 years ago, where everything was like a whip transition, but sometimes it's just a shake. Like if my camera at the end, usually if I stop recording, or if I just shake because I'm moving, and then I'll use that little bump as my exit point, and then I'll find a little bump in my next clip, because there's always these little jittery movements on my camera because I'm not that great. And so yeah, just use them to my advantage and go from one to the other, and it looks like it just makes the transition a bit more seamless, because it adds like that little pure, like real motion blur in the transition, and a little move. And if I'm lucky, those two camera kind of moves go in the same direction as well. And when that happens, it's very seamless, and it makes me look better than I am. And it also it almost looks like it's a transition that I added, but it's not. It's a pure cut, just well timed. And yeah, the other thing as well that I would add to what you said is just shot variety. Like if you have a lot of different shots from different camera positions and different framing, different composition, different, you know, filming angles, that automatically makes it look like there was like 4 or 5 different people filming. And that, again, goes back to like, oh, that looks heavily produced, because it looks like there's a team of people working on this, or they've been there for, you know, it's like 3 games in one, or I don't know how they did it, but it's just, I don't get that many good clips at one game. I usually get a few, and they're all from the same spot. And this guy has like, you know, he's from the top down, and he's got low angles on the baseline. He's over there. He's this, he's that. Like, how does he do it? Well, it's just, yeah, running around. That's what it is.
Yeah, it really is. I like you touched on one thing though about the editing. You know, editing doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to always be like a pan whip, like you said. In that, if you have a good pacing in your edit, you know, it's going to feel luxurious, even if just a straight cut. You know, straight cuts work. And one thing too, of being all around the stadium trying to get many shots and that, if you are shooting at a higher frame rate and you're going to use, like for me, I feel like slow motion adds a lot of value to like especially to like an opening video or a playoff video and that, but using it in the proper place and time. And laying out those, when do you want that slow motion shot? Like in basketball, you know, if the guy's hitting a three or whatever, you can focus on the guy and get that cinematic shot and slow him down. But know what you want ahead of time will really help you. Don't just put it in, you know, if I'm filming everything at 120 frames and I'm filming everything at that and I'll slow down something after. No, try and plan that slow motion shot, because you don't need everything filmed in slow motion, you know, and you won't want everything in slow motion because it's heavy. If you film everything at 120 frames, it's going to be heavy, you know, and I do switch, like on our cameras, we have the 1, 2, 3, you know, I do switch in between. Yes, it's a little more work sometimes to make sure that, you know, your white balance is there. You have to change your ISO, not your ISO, you have to change your aperture sometimes, or your shutter. But still, I'd rather film with purpose when I'm shooting slow-mo, but I love slow-mo in videos like this. What's your thoughts on slow-mo? I know you're a speed ramp guy, but you know, you give slow-mo a little bit of love sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. It just depends on the pace of the video and the purpose of it too. But yeah, obviously everybody loves a bit of action. Like my thing is usually, unless like it's either like reactions that are kind of cool because you see like the face kind of, you know, slow motion, like looking in agony or super happy. That's always good. Or it's just like a fast action. So if you can get like usually the faster the action in real life, the cooler the slow motion will look. Like a baseball swing or a tennis like swing, like something that goes like super fast. If you have it in slow motion, it kind of looks cool. And usually like the swing is the part that in slow motion looks cool, but like you want to speed ramp it so that when the impact happens, you go back to real speed, because like having the impact in real speed makes that impact more impactful, for lack of a better word. So speed ramping at the end of the day is the way to go for me anyway. Like I like to, certain things I want in full speed, others in slow motion, so I'll go back and forth, and I also try not to overdo it, so that way when I do it, it has more impact. So yeah, it's definitely a tool that isn't going away anytime soon, I think, for sports, because it's always a great, because what you're trying to do ultimately is just exaggerate certain moments in the game that you feel are like the key moments, or the most exciting moments of the game. So you're trying to put them, you know, on a pedestal and make them bigger and better and you know, fun, like more fun to watch. So yeah, speed ramping, and you can also, like, I reframe some shots as well. If my camera was a little bit tilted and like I can see like the horizon is not quite straight, like I'll zoom in like 105% just so I can put it back to like a normal, you know, just so that it looks good. And it's all these little things that add up and make a video look more professional and more polished.
Yeah, because you want to keep using the best shots you have, not just any shot you have to fill. Mm-hmm. And the next up too is the biggest one. It's not even visual. It's audio. Audio makes you feel that emotion, you know, and that's something too that you have to start including in your top-notch videos. Because, you know, sound design matters, and sound is, you know, more important sometimes than visual. So in this, you want like crowd noise. You got to have a shotgun mic. You want to maybe capture players and stuff, and sound effects. You know, like we always joke around on the show, E has a sound effect package and all that.
It's not a joke.
But you know how many?
This
it's
shit
not
is
a joke,
real.
I know. It's real, and it's coming on sale soon for Prime Day. Is that it? Or?
No, I'm not on Prime.
Not on Prime Day. But having those sound effects and that add a lot of value and make it feel premium. And these are things that you really, really need. So E, what are you doing when it comes to sound, or what other sounds are you looking for also that maybe aren't like a mic'd up sound or your sound effect, or what, is there anything you're there and you're trying to film or trying to capture? Because some teams have their unique their unique sound too. Like I know in hockey, everyone has a different horn, and you got to include their horn in their video, and these are things that make it feel like a little bit extra.
Yeah, well, for me, I'm definitely big on sound design because it's, for me anyway, easier to spend time on this than visual effects and all that sort of stuff. And I think like it can have like a just as big of an impact. So I liked, and I just like it. Like I said like a couple of times on this show, like I feel like I'm a bit of a failed musician. So I love playing with audio and playing with the music and playing with the atmosphere and the sound effects and all that sort of stuff and make it all come together in the end. So the first step for me is just to make sure that I record the audio on the day at a level that it's not going to be completely saturated. Like I don't want it to clip or anything like that. So I make sure. Well, usually what I do is like I record with my shotgun mic in two separate channels. So the first channel is on auto, so that usually does a great job. But I also have the second channel that's at manual, and I'll keep it quite low. So that way I can just use the second channel all the time on my stuff and not have to like take it down by like 20 dBs every time. And then when someone screams, it's actually like it's not gonna clip. So anyway, all that to say that I use like the audio from the game throughout my videos, and sometimes I cheat because there's, depending on the sport, sometimes there's a lot of music, so you try to use parts without music because I have my own music, so I don't want music over music sort of thing. But also because it's a lower volume, sometimes you can't really hear properly things that personally I like to hear, like especially if a player is quite close. For example, if he's dribbling the basketball far away, I'm not going to add like dribbling sounds. But if he's right in front of the camera and you can see him dribble and we can't hear it, to me it's weird. So I'm going to add like sound effects for that. But that's the thing with sound effects. Like sometimes people are like, oh, it doesn't sound real. Like it doesn't sound real because you don't have any atmosphere, and you just added like the sound of the net or the sound of the rim or something, and it just sounds weird because it's complete silence or just music, and then boom, sound of a rim, sound of a ball dribbling, things like that. But if you have atmosphere and you add a sound effects and don't overdo it in terms of volume, it's just loud enough so that we can hear it. It can't be like my atmosphere is here and then my sound effects are way up here. Like you have to, really play with the volume so that it feels natural. And if it's further away, you shouldn't hear it as well than if it's like closer to you. So you have to think about all these things. It has to, just watch television. It's just and just real life. Like if something's far away, I'm not going to hear it very well. But if it's close, it's going to be loud. So just edit with that in mind. And if you do that, then everything becomes a lot more immersive. It feels real. It feels natural. And it also feels premium because it feels like everything that happens feels like every player has a microphone on him, because you can hear, like my last like video, there was like hockey. There's this girl, she like stick handles for like a couple seconds and then shoot. I had it sound effects of the stick like on the ice going tuck 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 tuck, and that makes it sound like, ooh, that microphone's amazing. Like you're just hearing the stick just hitting the ice and things like that. But yeah, it's just these little things that make it sound more premium and just makes you think that everything is like, yeah, you feel like you're watching, the NFL, where they have these big, these big microphones that can record any conversation anywhere and all the hits and the sounds and all that sort of stuff. But it's just me with my whole shotgun and a few secret sound effects. And yeah, it does the job. It's not that complicated. It's just patience.
Yeah, but you know what? It's the atmosphere sound that adds the most, because that's your starting point. If you don't have that and you just have like a killer soundtrack and you drop sound effects, and it sounds weird. If you don't have that atmosphere and you don't build up those moments and lead people to it. And like you said, if the basketball's far away and you want to hear the dribble, then lower that dribble so the dribble sounds far away, and increase it as it gets closer. And you got to play around with it. Like your sound effect track is going to be way more than your visual track if you're doing it properly, and take time, because it's very, very valuable. It's very, very time consuming. Another thing too is, if you have access to mic up guys and use those guys, real audio, them talking on the bench, them talking, obviously you don't always get mic'd up moments, but if you do and you can get that, that's going to add a ton of value to your video because you can let the player dictate the story. You can have him express the challenges or the victories or whatever it is he's saying. You don't always see that, but when you have that, you feel like you're there and it feels like, okay, this is a top-notch video. So you use that too and have him, you don't even have to show him in the play. You can just have him dictate and explain the play, or he could be a bench player excited for his teammate and he's talking about like run, go, oh, touchdown. You can have someone else tell the story, and mic'd up moments really add a lot of value. And if you can get that in, but mic'd up moments are a lot more work because you got to watch a lot of footage and you got to find the exact spot that's going to help tell your story. But audio is key. It's key. And that's one of the biggest challenges too in like, say for game prez and that is, we work on all this audio stuff and it sounds good on the web and it sounds good to everywhere. But when you're in a bowl and there's people cheering and all that, you got to make sure your sound effects are loud enough and adjust it properly so you can hear them in the arena, because it's what you hear in the arena is not always the same as what you hear on YouTube or on the team's website. They have different audio levels and compressions and stuff, so it is tricky too to make that premium video feel the same on the web as it does in arena also.
True.
Yeah. Next up I have color consistency and polishing. Now I think that's really important, especially in a day where color grading is all you see on YouTube. Color grade. But for me, the biggest thing is to make sure that the colors match, and you can have different color tones. Obviously, like a locker room is going to be different, have a different color than maybe the ice and so on. But the idea is if you're doing a luxury video like this, you need to go through clip by clip by clip and make sure everything's good. So how do you tackle that? Because it's a tasking thing too,
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think it's probably my weakest or my most the part of the edit that I'm the less confident in, and I think it's the case for most people. But yeah, at the start, like white balance is just like exposure and white balance. Obviously, you need to get those, nail those from the jump. White balance, if you don't get it, like you can always correct it, but it's going to be more work and more complicated, and especially if it's different in different, throughout the game, it changes, then it's even more work and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, for me, if we go back to the original, like, yeah, make it premium. What makes it premium? I think, like you said, color consistency. Like, yeah, I think consistency is what makes it premium. Like when every shot looks the same. If every shot, and when I say the same, I mean, properly exposed, good colors, and I don't really see it different in colors from one shot to the next. Like it just seems like everything was filmed properly, perfectly, and I'm not seeing like any shot that needs adjusting or that stands out from the others. Like if everything just looks seamless color wise and exposure wise, like that to me is like a premium look. Because beyond that, when it goes into LUTs and trying to make it look cinematic and all these different things with color grading and stuff, I'm definitely guilty of trying to overdo it, like just overthinking it and adding LUTs and I use LUTs, I sell LUTs, like they're good, but like I just think like I do it now in a much more like minimal way, and I'm not expecting my LUTs to make my video look good. I'm just trying to take a good video, good looking video, and just add like a certain style, and it's a very tame sort of, like I said, minimal kind of style, because when you overdo it, typically it, especially with the contrast and saturation, like if you went too far, and sometimes on your computer screen it doesn't look that bad, but then you watch it on a phone or a TV and it's completely different. So and there it looks like you went too far. So that's why I like to keep it minimal, so that if it's exaggerated on a different screen, then at least I've got room to play with, sort of thing. but yeah, so I think it's at the end of the day, like it's about making sure that your look is consistent and not over the top for me.
You know, that's a good point you said, because everybody has a different screen. Everybody has, like, my phone's settings might be different than your settings, or my monitor, my laptop is different than yours. So you got to find that milieu. And if you're doing something like for a sports team, you make it for the scoreboard, and then you worry about everything else after, or wherever the main piece is. And I suggest you do that too. And I think too with LUTs is, work on the basic color correction first. Make sure every shot is even before you give that video a look. And depending on certain shots, you're going to put that LUT on. It's not like you just drop it and everything is good. You still have to go through it again and make sure, because some of the saturation or some of the highlights on certain shots are going to look off, and never use a LUT 100%, please. Like, dial that down 20, 30%. I would start there and then kind of take it down a little bit more. And don't just think because you put a color or a look on it that it looks great. I personally, I use my LUTs very, very minimal. And I see some people that put it full blast on Instagram, and it looks great. It looks great. But know your audience and know what you're trying to get, and know the look that you're trying to get. Because just throwing a look on doesn't always work. Do it with purpose. If it's I don't know, if I'm filming something in the West, and I, a cowboy theme or something like that, maybe I'm going to put like a little yellow tint or something like that. Or if I'm doing something by the beach, maybe I'll put like a bluish tint a little bit, or teal and green or something like that. But use your LUTs with a purpose. Don't just say, oh, this one looks cool, I'm going to put it on, I want my stuff to look this, because it might not work. It might work against you. If anything, start with no LUT, like just the standard Rec 709 LUT. Make sure everything's good, watch it through, and then kind of figure out your style. Or shoot with a style in mind already, and that will definitely help you, and it will speed up your process too, because there's nothing worse than going in your drop-down menu and you have 15, 25 LUTs, and you're like, oh, let me try this one. Oh, what's this one again? Go there with really, I'm looking for something with a yellow tint because it's really hot and I want to show the heat and stuff like that. Then it works. But if you're just putting it just because you think it looks cool, it's not really gonna work for you.
No,
and over editing or over putting looks in that, they make it feel cheap. They don't make it feel premium. And the idea is here is to show a video that has a high production value. But I think that's pretty much everything we've gone through. But there are some things like, so what cheapens a sports video fasty for you? Like what are things that people think are working for them but really work against them?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is when, like, using the wrong music, first of all, is probably the first mistake that a lot of people do when they start editing their own videos. Like, they'll pick a track for reasons that have nothing to do with the actual footage, like either because it's a track that they like and they want to edit to it, or they want the video to look super dramatic, super cinematic, so they use like a orchestral, like super, like big drama moments, big beats, things like that, but the footage is pretty plain and vanilla, and it just doesn't fit. So yeah, it's about, like, if you think that because you're using a certain music your video is going to look a certain way, it's not going to happen. Like, both, like, the visual and the audio has to be sort of on the same level, and that's what makes it feel organic and cool and all that. So you have to shoot with the music in mind, or pick a music that fits what you shot. So, but other than that, I'd say, yeah, a bad color job where everything is sort of all over the place can be a giveaway as well, like in terms of quality. Because the thing is, like, don't even need to go all the way to grading. Like, it's just if you're on auto settings all the way, and then, or if your exposure is all over the place, that's gonna kill. Like, if the camera can't even have, like, things properly exposed, then obviously the contrast, the sharpness, all these things are going to be affected. So it's not going to look great. Like, how many times have people, like, send me, why does my video look like muddy and, a bit washed out compared to yours, and things like that. And then you ask them about their settings, and they're either overexposed, or even if they're properly exposed, like, their camera's not doing great in low light, and they're filming at, like, like 20,000 ISO or something like that, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's it. Like, it's not helping that your ISO is so high like that, because then the dynamic range is dying in the process, and you got grain and things like that. So it's all these things that, like, if you don't nail your settings in camera, yeah, after that, like, you can try to polish and make it a little bit better, but like, it's really at the start that you're giving yourself the best chance.
For me, I find it's when guys use too many transitions. You know, like a transition works sometimes, you know, and it works through the video. But when you start relying on too many transitions, when you see a video and there's like transition after transition after transition, even though it could be a cool effect, even it could be something really, really nice looking in that, too much is too much. And it feels like you just did it because you didn't know what else to use. Where I'd rather see a straight cut than a transition that's been overused. So I think that's something to avoid. And then in a premium video, honestly, I really feel like you need a story. You cannot just put random shots in. You cannot just, like, you know, use what you have and try and fill up a certain time frame. And that is have a story, have a plan. And it's not always easy to tell that sports story, but figure it out and have, you know, the footage on your timeline with purpose and tell that story, because that, if you tell a story, you know, the audience catches on and they'll feel the emotion better too. So I think that's really, really important. And that's the difference for me between a premium video and just like a random nice looking video or a good video. But anything else you want to add before we wrap up, B, or
Well, no, other than the fact that, like, don't put too much pressure on yourselves either. Like, just go with the basics and work one step at a time. Once you're able to understand what exposure is and do it properly. Make sure you do the same thing with white balance, and then move on from there. And then in the edit, like, go step by step. Like, don't try to do everything all at once, because it can be a bit overwhelming. But yeah, these things take time.
Yeah, premium is not about doing more. It's about doing the right things better.
Exactly.
And you know, and if you do that, you'll start pumping out higher quality videos. But all right, so that's it for this episode of Game Day Glare. Take care, guys.